What's going on, y'all? This is Greg. Greg said it. Back with another one here. This is the Greg Said It Night Edition. It's like a little later than normal. But you all, this portal thing is really opening a lot of people's eyes. I mean, when you look at what's going on in Colorado, I think it's a growing thing. This portal, I think, is getting more volatile every year. I mean, it definitely give it and it definitely take it away. When you look at the type of players you're losing, you say you're not losing that you need. And the type of players that you have coming, I mean, you got a mixture of some guys who really didn't do much, but they like next up, kind of like Colton Hood last year. And then you have Love this year. You have some guys who played, like you see when McKinney came over. And then you have guys who, you be like, what in the world's going on? They're just looking for money, opportunity, I don't know. Like we see with the kick return specialist from BYU. And it's like BYU had a good opportunity to compete this year for what I thought. They did decent last year. And you would think that places like that would maintain certain people. And I guess you can say that with Colorado too, to an extent, but I think Colorado's losing some guys who are looking for opportunity more so than people who are like the guy. And I can see what Jordan Seaton was saying was like, this affects the brotherhood. Like, how do you really connect with people when they hear it one day and gone the next? I guess it prepares them for the NFL, but NFL is more so decisions of the organization than it is the players. Players don't necessarily just want to leave. You know, this is like some free agency stuff, I don't know, or some money situation. So you do have it, but most of the times they're leaving is because their organization traded them or cut them. So you do have to get used to just, being close to certain people and then they just been up and gone at the next level. And that's just sports, which is weird. And that's life too. I mean, that's jobs, I'm always amazed when you look at like the people you really close with on your job for however long you there a while, you really close with them. I think the longer you close with them, the longer it'll maintain possibly after you leave. But like when you switch up being with a group of people, how it just changes the dynamic of the relationship. You thought you was close until you're no longer with them every day. I mean, I even think that some people, get with people on their jobs because of convenience, but they probably wouldn't dealt with them if they wasn't seeing them every day. So it shows you something about the human nature, But a lot is changing with this portal situation. And I don't know how far this thing goes, but it's interesting to see how just crazy this thing gets when you look at the type of players who are going in the portal in this day and time. But nevertheless, since this portal is swinging both ways, as I said, what else do you see that Colorado needs or could benefit from this portal at this point? We don't see the spring game. We don't see, for the most part, most of the pieces I think that's leaving. I mean, it still has some time for some people to leave, but as far as key players, you kind of know who's going to be there at this point. What do you see that Colorado needs? They have a very elaborate quarterback situation, better than we've seen in the last couple of years and probably in a long time. You got 3, really 4 guys who could start, not just here, but they could start pretty much at a lot of other schools, including our backups. Staub, we could say he can arguably start here. He's proven he can do some things, especially with the right situation. Salt and Juju, we feel like, are great talents in their own right. Ponder, he hasn't really had a shot, but we've seen some things that he could do. And if he's not playing here, he definitely can play even at some of the lower level schools. He definitely can show his talent. And he hasn't really had the opportunity, but we've seen flashes of it. So that quarterback room is like elaborate. And then you look at the running back room, we kind of felt all right. And then IA left. So it's like, okay, we need to get at least fill that void there because you can end up having 2-3 guys out just on a fluke. And you don't want to be in a bad situation like we seen a couple years ago with the spring game. We had to put Harge back there, even though Harge is talented. But he's just not a running back that you're going to your every down running back. So I'm thinking, okay, of course you're always going to add some linemen on the offensive side. You can always add some people on the defensive line because injuries happen. And again, we've lost a couple maybe depth pieces on the offensive side. I don't think we're really seeing much on the defensive side as of now. That's pretty interesting. But we want to build enough depth where I know at one point last year, like in the middle around Kansas State and for some games after that, we lost a lot of defensive linemen in a short period of time, like 4 or 5, which is a lot. And some were out for longer stints than others. But you want to maintain the quality with the depth. And it's hard to do because this portal thing, man, it makes a lot of people feel like if I'm not playing, I need to be gone. And they might end up playing if they just be patient and wait. But sometimes they jump, and sometimes it's ugly because they get in that portal and they don't get out. And maybe they need to get some good agents or something. I don't know what's going on, because if you get in there, you should better find somewhere. Like, I know it don't pay the same as NIL, but these people need to have somebody who can make some phone calls and get them somewhere, because there's a lot of schools out there. And surely, the rosters feel like that. You can't make room for you. So it's just interesting. But I'm thinking the cornerback room has already been established that the cornerback and the safety room need a couple pieces. Coach Prime has already said that. So you've already seen one cornerback come in, and I think it's Parks or something like that. And then you have seen Love come in at safety. And we know the importance of that because we've seen Hood, he's been out for a minute. We're hearing this a hamstring, and we know that could be an issue that lingers and lingers and lingers. So, you don't rush him back. But if that was something that happened during the season, you want your quality depth at cornerback. And I think R.J. Johnson has done well. McKinney, he's a starter. And a lot of people say, I don't know what's going on with him over there. And it's kind of hard to tell. But for the most part, you're trying to build those pieces behind him. Now, I think, was it Boozy? I think Boozy just left. They had some young guys from last year that was behind them. And, of course, we just brought in, like I say, is it Parks? They came over from Illinois State or something like that. And we're looking at, okay, if our starters go down for any period of time, who can step in? Whether it's in the game or it's multiple games, who can step in? Because, like Coach Prime said, if teams feel like they can't run it on you and then your weakness is the passing game, they might try you. And I don't know if we're going to still do that man coverage type situation. I don't know. But I think that you definitely want a couple more. And the same thing with the safety room. So he's spot on with that. Linebacker room, you probably want 1 or 2 more. I don't know. I would love to see the young guys get opportunities, who came last year, but they're not ready. And I wouldn't know that. And again, in that receiver room, on the offensive side of the ball, I think you're good at receiver, but they're not fully going to trust those young guys to be, whatever. Even whether they could or not, they're not going to bank on that. So you see they're still bringing guys in. They might bring in another one. They brought in Sincere Brown. They might bring in another one. I would like to see them bring in another tight end, especially since we lost one. So you're looking at a lot of different places, probably more than you originally would have thought, because maybe it's before a little action happened with the portal, or maybe he was a little more confident, but they have the slots, they can fill them. And we're going to see how this thing goes. And we're going to ride this thing out to the end of the portal because, in a minute now, they can just do some stuff that you're like, whoa, they can wait till the last minute before the window closes. And then that opens up another need as far as depth. And hopefully it's not nothing at the top. But like I said, this thing is hectic, man. And it could send a team into an imbalance at any given time, how it operates. Because, all types of people jumping in this portal for all types of reasons. It could be internal, it could be external. They can be genuine things, and they can be manipulated by somebody that was a promise that's from a coach or whatever that don't even come true, and uproot people and cause all kinds of stuff. This thing is crazy, but Colorado definitely can benefit from it. They can get the few pieces that's needed. But we'll see, y'all. I'm just Greg sitting this late night edition. Not that late, but, later than usual. Go ahead if you haven't yet. Like, share, subscribe, comment. And I'll talk to y'all soon.